I'm finally free from that RO chip. Welcome back to Corky Gachas, and in this video I'm going to talk about a summary of my experiences in Ragnarok Origin Global because like the thumbnail suggests, like the title suggests, I've officially quitted Ragnarok Origin Global. I've given my account away. In fact, I stopped playing a few days ago while I was searching for a new game to play, and in this video I'm going to give you the good experiences, the bad experiences, and of course you guys already know some of the reasons why I'm quitting the game, right? And I do believe there's some of you that have quitted and left comments in the comment section below previously when I was making videos contemplating whether to quit, when to quit, etc, etc. You guys have already let me know your reasons, and honestly it's not that much different from my personal reasons of quitting, but I'm going to cover that after I touch on the good and the bad. And of course, I'm at the end of the video I'm also going to cover what I'm going to move to next, the next game that I'm going to cover on this channel. So for people that are still interested, you can stay and hang by. And honestly, when I start with the good, I would like to first say that RO is one of the most social games that I've ever played in the recent years, right? Because honestly, when you think about RO, a lot of people play for their friends, a lot of people play for their guildies, the people that have met in this game, albeit we are just virtual friends, right? We are not really exactly in real life friends, but there is still a purpose, there is still a community that is being built in the game, especially with the guild system. I'd like to touch on it. I think this is a very, very huge factor, and of course, similar to Ragnarok Classic, there is the huge focus around guilds and War of Empyrean. In this game, it's very, very similar, right? With the structure of the guilds itself, it fosters a lot of guild activities, it fosters a lot of guild interaction. So you are going to likely make friends, you're going to find your regular partners for MVP, for farming CT, this kind of things, right? So I think that this is a major plus for the game. I've really enjoyed my experiences interacting with the people in this game, and of course a lot of people have definitely said hi to me when you guys saw me in the cross servers doing Hazy Forest. I've seen a couple people like Anthem Trial and stuff like this, even Guild League, but as of today, if you guys see me anymore, my account has already been given to someone else, so it's no longer me that is playing that account. So yeah, just a disclaimer over here, right? So that's the first thing I want to touch on. It's the really good social aspect. And the second good thing that I want to touch on for RO is that I feel that this version of Ragnarok is in fact the closest to the original classic RO experience. So the nostalgia factor is the strongest for this game itself, which is also why a lot of people are more hesitant to quit, and also they're more attached to this game, right? Because this is not just a typical RO game, and like I've mentioned previously, I've tried other Ragnarok mobile games. It doesn't feel exactly the same, and of course they are very different, right? In their mechanics, in the maps, etc, etc. So you definitely would not feel as strong of an attachment to previous RO mobile games compared to Ragnarok Origin. And in fact, true to its name, it says that this is the classic origin factor, right, that they are trying to promote. And honestly, I think they did deliver on that, and albeit there are some of the bad things that are coming that I'm going to cover as well, but I do feel that the nostalgia factor is good enough for us to really play it, and the graphics has been enhanced in such a way that it doesn't feel different from the original. If we just look at the monster sprites and compare it to the Ragnarok Classic sprites, right, on Ultra mode, it's definitely much better compared to the original, but doesn't detour us such that it doesn't delink, right, the factor between RO Classic and this one. So I really think that this is true to its origin, and also on top of that, there are the auto factors, right, which can't be eliminated from mobile game these days. Everyone is busy, so you definitely have to have the auto function. It's just as if we are botting back in the day, right? So back in the day, people are already botting, but now the games itself all have the in-game botting system. So I think that this is good to cater to a more casual audience, and definitely a lot of people that are working would have really appreciated this as one of the factors why they would play this. Because if you ask us to go back to play Ragnarok Classic these days, right, are you really able to farm so much? Are you able to get a card that is 0.01% drop rate? Just ask yourself that, right? So likely you're not going to be able to without auto function, without like technically botting. So I do feel that this is a good thing that they did change, while most of the stuff have been kept the same. And then on to the fact that this is a live service game, there are constant updates, there are constant events, and honestly I do feel that some of these events are quite interesting. The mini games especially, I do think that they have put some heart into actually implementing this. However, the execution isn't exactly the best. So these are what I feel is really good about this game in general. There's two major factors, right? Really bring a lot of people to play this game, and the reason why this game is so popular is definitely based off one or the other, right? But of course, when it comes to the shortcomings, there are also no lack of it, right? And in fact, I think that there are more shortcomings than there are positives for ROO after playing it for so long. And I would say this as a matter of fact, as of this moment, there is potential for the game to change for the better, albeit I hold a pretty pessimistic view of that, and I'm going to explain why later as well. But for the first one, I'm going to say that there is extremely poor execution of good ideas. This is like a chef trying to cook your favorite dish, but he's drunk. I would argue that it is honestly a pretty fair description of what is actually happening. So it's someone trying to implement the good ideas, but they are all half cooked and all half done. I don't think that it is entirely fair to just blame the devs. It might be that the higher ups are trying to push them to implement more of these events to grab more money, so they would have no choice, right? Imagine you have the skill and the ability to cook a really good steak, but they only give you 2 minutes to cook that steak. So you can't really cook a steak well, but you know how to cook it, right? It's not like you don't know how to cook it. So I don't think it's entirely fair for me to assume that it is the devs that are being incompetent. So I would like to take back my word to say that, oh, devs are definitely incompetent. I do think that after giving some thought, there is the possibility that the higher ups are the ones that are driving these decisions to rush stuff out. So I do feel that execution is extremely poor. And just to list a few examples, you can think of the cross-server leak and as well as War of Empyrean that we have recently experienced, right? So the cross-server guild leak as well as the cross-server guild expeditions, for the first few times, I do think that the lag issue was extremely severe. It has improved over time. However, of course, on the day that I quitted, which is the day on Sunday, last WoE and last guild expedition crossover, the MVPs actually disappeared. And the MVPs disappeared, right? The moment that it happened, my thoughts were not of anger, were not of frustration. It was more of being amazed as well as amused by the fact that in fact, the game can screw up without any updates. I was questioning myself, was there an update? Did I download something? How did this screw up happen without any updates? That is really impressive. That was what I was thinking to myself. I was saying that this game never failed to disappoint me when it comes to having more bugs, when it comes to having more execution failures. And when it comes to the War of Empyrean, of course, on the more populated servers, you guys would know that it is War of Entrance. I've seen a lot of you guys say that. It's a War of, it's Ragnarok, it's Ragnarok, all these kind of things, right, happening. I do say that the execution part is extremely poor, which brings me to my next point, which is the Ragnarok situation. So there are a lot too many bugs in this game and they are not being addressed at all. You can take a look at my Vid Shield Paladin video that was released almost a month or more than a month ago, right? And in that video, I remember very clearly, I did say that I would expect them to fix this bug pretty soon, because this is a bug that would enable the whole shield build irrelevant compared to other options, right, that they have available for Paladin. And in fact, until this day, I have not heard or seen any mention of it by the officials about this bug at all. And I do know that there are other bugs that are plaguing other jobs as well. You guys would know yourself best, right? And if they have been fixed, if they've not been fixed, you guys would know also. And I can confidently say that the backlog for the bugs, right, is much more than whatever is going on right now. I think the backlog for bugs is insane. And also the introduction of new events, right, through their poor execution, through their poor management, will also lead to the introduction of more bugs to come. So the backlog is going to get more and more. I cannot imagine 2 months down the road how many bugs this game is going to have, while at least they continue to add in more and more of these events. And this also brings me once again to my next point, which is the cash grabby event focus. So they have a extreme focus towards cash grabby events. Of course, I do know that this game is very pay to win. This goes without saying. This is obviously a pay to win game that we have entered into knowingly. However, the focus seems to be a bit too high these days, right? Everything is pseudo gambling. Even the emoji machine is pseudo gambling, although we did praise it for being quite good with the rewards. But if you think about it, it is just trying to introduce gambling to whoever is playing, albeit the general demographic is a bit older, right, compared to like normal games. So you can't exactly say it's predatory towards kids because the demographic isn't exactly kids, right? So we are all adults, we know what we are doing, so technically we should have a better idea of when to stop spending. For some people, maybe there are no limits, I'm not too sure, but whatever there is, the focus on cash grabby events seems to be a bit too high rather than the efforts being spent on improving the game as a whole. So this is what I feel is another bad thing. And now on to my last point, and also the biggest point I think is plaguing Ragnarok Origin Global. You guys might think it is the implementation of too many events, the schedule, etc. But I do feel that it all leads up to one thing and one thing only, and that is a lack of a positive feedback loop, which means that they are not listening to what people are telling them. So this is the most dangerous, I would say, and also the most serious problem that I have seen for Ragnarok Origin, and also a lot of the reasons why people are quitting this game is because they refuse to take in feedback that would not bring them revenue. So I'm not very sure why this is the case, but a lot of the times when the feedback is being given, right, they are actually being judged on a scale of revenue. And if you just take an example of what I've listed previously, right, the shield build problem and the Holy Cross problem, right, I do feel that this is not exactly a matter of them not being able to fix simple bugs or the formula errors, etc, etc. I do feel it's because it is not being prioritized given the fact that they know that people should go towards sacrifice build, which is a plus 15 requirement build. And plus 15 means what? You have to refine. To refine, you need ingredients, you need the materials. To get materials, you need to pay or you need to grind. So a lot of it is driven towards revenue. This is what I'm guessing. This is my assumption, right? Not going to act like I know what exactly is going on behind Gravity, right? Inside Gravity. I'm not working inside. I wouldn't know what exactly they're thinking. But as a logical mind, I do feel that they are trying to see, oh, this feedback given, right, does it benefit us in terms of revenue? If not, then we forget it. Anyway, this player is not that important to us, right? Free-to-play players, just forget about them, right? Don't need them at all. So this is what is giving me a very, very weird like capitalism vibes, right? And I don't exactly think that this is going to benefit the game in the long run, which also I would like to say, right, I don't think as of now the Gravity company is trying to make this game a long-running game. If you are trying to make a long-running game, I do think that your number one priority is going to be feedback and to retain player base and attract new players. So these are the two main things, right? In and out, it's very simple. This is the balance of the game. All the games go through decline, all the games go through leakage of player base, but a lot more companies, right, are now trying to attempt to maintain or attract new people so that the balance is not being skewed, right, whereby the huge outflow after the first few months occurs and then there is no more inflows. But as it seems, I don't think that this is in the long-term roadmap of their plans, right? This is how I personally view it once again, and that is how I view the game from a relatively objective standpoint, I would say. But now for my personal reasons for quitting, right, it's of course going to be a bit more personal, and that is because my friends have already quit the game. So I don't feel like there is as much that is binding me to this game, right? After all, those shared memories from Ragnarok Classic were with my friends, so without my friends, it doesn't exactly feel the same. So this is just personally. If you guys have friends that are still playing the game, you might be more inclined to stay. So definitely the group is keeping everyone together. Like I mentioned, right, the most important thing in this game, the positive side, is that it's an extremely social game. So I do feel like this is equivalent to like a Club Penguin or maybe Neopets back in the day, right? So it's a social game, Habbo Hotel, whatever you call it. So I think that once my friends quit, it was really drawing down my last straw already. So I do know that I was going to quit sooner or later. And on to my second point, I would like to use the wet tower analogy. So the wet tower analogy is what I call when you squeeze a wet tower, right? You are going to squeeze really hard, and for the first part, you're going to squeeze a lot of water out of the wet tower. But then once it gets to the end, right, no matter how hard you try, you're only going to get a little bit more out of the wet tower. But it's not exactly that the tower is dry. So I would think that this is equivalent to Ragnarok Origin Global. To me, right now, That is, I have already tried out and I've experienced most of the things that I do find value in this game with. And forward looking right at the Taiwan updates, what is coming from a PvP end, what is coming from the events end, what is coming from a jobs end, the subsequent stuff like this, I feel that that is a very, very squeeze dry wet tower for me. So I also say this is personal because for a lot of people, for a lot of casual players, right, you might not have experience much of everything of the game, right? So you still have a lot left in your wet tower for you to squeeze. So definitely continue squeezing your wet tower until it's entirely dry. But yeah, I do think that it is roughly 80%, 90% dry for me. I don't think that I left anything or much on the table for Ragnarok Origin Global. And of course, the last reason is because of the repetitiveness of the events and the amount of time it's taking up. And from a content creator standpoint, right, I always aim to go on a more detailed side. So I would like to research into stuff. I have to spend time to researching. I have to spend time into thinking of content that is interesting and also beneficial to people. So I don't really just make content on anything. I do find that there is certain demand for the content that I make before making it. So all this takes time. My full-time job takes time, and also the events, the dailies take too much time. So I do think that this was an experience I given myself, sleeping late almost every night. It was quite stressful, and it has definitely made me reconsider my choices in my games, right, moving forward. I'm not going to pick a game that is so hardcore, so to speak, right? Because if I want to min-max in a game like ROO, I will have to complete all my assists for Jupiterus, the TOC, like Temple of Constellation, Temple of Nightmare, right? The assists, the tries, the attempts, going for ranking, this and that, finishing your CT, even on 2x candy is 1 hour plus of AFK every night. There's going to be night events. Too much time. So I really am free from this jail. I would call it a jail right now because every night I have to sit down there like a jail, right? Like a jail cell member every night after coming back from work. And that pretty much sums up all my reasons for quitting and also my assessment of good and bad of this game. And of course, at this point, a lot of you might be curious, hey Koki, what's next for you? What's next for the channel? I am in fact going to play Reverse 1999. I did mention it briefly in one of my previous videos. However, I did spend a lot more time playing it to know that it's not going to be a thing or a game that I'm going to be easily bought off, right? Be easily bought off. And in fact, I've determined that on the market right now, right, this is the only game I can play because the rest of the games do not hit that much checkboxes for me. But of course, I still have some reservations about this game, but I'm definitely going to make content for this game from this channel. So if you guys are interested in playing Reverse 1999, some of the good things I would first preview you guys is that the art style is very unique. There is a full English voice acting, and I think it's done extremely well. So the story is also decent, I would say, and the gameplay isn't exactly the most boring. There is game building factors, and from what I've seen, right, the most important factor that I think is lacking in Ragnarok Origin, which is the feedback loop from the customers, from the players, right, it's entirely there because initially this game had a weapon system that is similar to Genshin Impact, which is extremely costly for you to get both the weapon as well as the character. But after listening to feedback, I think they were blasted by feedback, right, that you shouldn't copy Genshin, you're not Genshin, you're not MiHoYo, stuff like that. They changed it to make it extremely free-to-play friendly. You can actually now grind the weapon for the signature or the character itself. So I do think that the feedback loop is extremely active compared to RO, of course, but maybe this is what we should learn to expect from games and not accept trash feedback loops. And regardless, I do think that this game can be worth my time playing as of now, so I'm going to play. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be playing this game, but as of now, I have been enrolled into the content creator program for their game, and I've been given a closed beta key. So on 4th of August, it's going to start closed beta, so pretty much just perfect timing. I'm going to be able to dive into this game. I've already been playing it a bit on the China server, but of course playing this in full English is going to be great, and I can definitely make some good content for you guys that are interested in playing this game as well or are already anticipating this game. But of course, I know that this game isn't going to exactly be up everyone's alley, right? Especially for a PvP focused ROO game itself, so it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So I do expect that a lot of people would not continue to watch this channel for Reverse 1999 99. Regardless, I do want to take this opportunity to thank everyone that have supported me thus far, be it in game, outside of game. I know a lot of people have said hi to me in game as well, outside of game, in the comment section below, giving me support, giving me the encouragement that I need, and also coming to my first and last live stream that I've made for ROO, or I've streamed for ROO. So I just want to say this one last time, and maybe this is the last time that you guys are going to hear me say this, and that is Gravity, good company.